fucking running.
A dog trainer that I know posted something on Facebook, and what it was a picture of a knife in his hand, and then he goes into this description of like, you should always be prepared, and saying that, like, you know, people walk their dogs off of a leash, so I always take this with me. You know, it's like, what are you inferring? That you're going to stab the dog or the owner that you get in a fight with? I'm sorry, I see that that's just paranoia. Oh, I'm going for a walk with my dog, I got to take a knife. That's what this guy was recommending. This is a pretty well-known dude. I see this all the time in dog trainers that do protection work with dogs. Like, they always have a carry permit. They're always worried about the worst case, you know, the worst case scenario is that they're going to be thrown in the trunk of a car or something. It's just paranoid, ridiculous shit. Now, my father, and by the way, I don't have anything against people that do protection work with dogs. I think any type of dog training you're doing with the dog is good. I've never had any interest in that. I don't need a dog to get involved in human bullshit. That's a good way for a dog to get hurt. There have been times in my life where I'm dealing with a crazy person. I want to get the dog out of the situation. That's me. That's me. I don't want to train a dog to... I want to train a dog to do bite work. I just don't want to train a dog to do that kind of bite work. I want him to go get the object and bring it back and spin into heel. That's the bite work that I do. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of dog trainers out there. They're into this, you know, protection work with dogs. That's fine. But I do notice that a lot of these people, they have carry permits. There's this like underlining paranoia. That's what it is. My father started carrying a gun later in life because he, when was that? That was like the early 90s. He was in a Blockbuster video, or maybe late 80s. He was in a Blockbuster video. 3 or 4 people came in with guns. They took everybody, put them in a storeroom. They robbed the Blockbuster. Nobody really got hurt. But from that point on, my father started carrying a gun because he felt helpless. My father had a curio and relic license. You know, I was a member. He made me a member of the NRA when I was, you know, in first grade. I started shooting. Now you got to be a member of the NRA, shit like that. But it was just that little bit that he needed to, you know, he felt helpless and he didn't ever want to feel helpless again. And that's what I guess a lot of these people have felt helpless in their life. I never have. I've never felt helpless in a fight. But I think that there's also a difference between somebody that's trained, that trains dogs, and somebody that trains dogs and might not necessarily be trained. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, my father had no martial arts training. No, wait a minute, he boxed. I take that back, he boxed, but he was younger and then he was just out of shape for most of his life. So by the time that he was 18, he was always over 250 pounds. So, but I do see a lot of this in dog trainers that we're not talking about purely positive, not the purely positive dog trainers, not the clicker trainers. I'm talking about obedience trainers, balance trainers. Many balanced dog trainers have training in martial arts. Many. If you ask them, there's at least a 50% chance they're going to say yes. So there's that kind of mentality with balanced trainers, you know, regarding discipline. But then there's balanced trainers that I don't think have martial arts training, and so they're into it. They're into like learning how to do protection work with a dog. So there's that mentality already. Like, I'm going to have a dog that protects me. That's the last thing I want. If I have something going on with a human, get out of here, dog. You know, who's a more dangerous animal, a dog or a human? A human by far. And my dogs are, you know, I love them. I don't want them getting hurt. I'm just stating the facts that a lot of these balanced dog trainers that do protection work, they also have carry permits. This guy that I'm talking about, this is a big dude. This is a twice the size of me. He must be 260, 270 maybe. He's a big dude. And he does protection work with his with dogs. And then he also has the need, when he takes a dog for the walk, to take a knife with him. That's just paranoia. That's fucking paranoia. I'm just stating the facts, man. If you're gonna see this, there's gonna be people that'll see this and go, yeah, I take a gun with me everywhere. Well, you're paranoid. Why do you want to take a gun with you everywhere? I remember when I was a kid, my father would take a gun. He'd have a gun like underneath the seat of the car when he was doing deposits. We had this business, and he would take the money to the night deposit thing and throw it in the box and stuff. He would take a gun and put it underneath his seat. But that's logical. Like, I have a lot of money. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just to say, well, I'm going to go walk the dog, so I'm going to take a knife with me because I want to be prepared. You're paranoid. This dog trainer, he's very well known, is fucking paranoid, and he's recommending to other people that you should always be prepared. And he's got a knife with him. I have a knife collection. This is true. It's from my father. My father collected knives, and I can't imagine taking one of those knives with me because I'm going for a walk. When I drove a cab, I didn't take a weapon with me, and I got robbed once, and that's what my father suggested. He said, Peter, you should either get a gun or take a knife with you. Let me tell you something about the knife. If you aren't trained to be able to handle the knife, that weapon could be turned on you and could be used on you, and you can get stabbed, okay? So taking a knife, that you put that in your hand, then you don't have this hand to use. All you have is this action. You take away a weapon, sort of. Now you're only one-handed because you got this knife and you're trying to stab the person. So unless you're trained with a knife, don't take a knife with you. And if you're so paranoid that you think that you got to take a weapon with you and you're taking a knife, somebody might have a gun, and a gun against a knife, the gun is going to win. Do you really? You people walk around thinking like, oh, well, maybe I'll go to Walmart and somebody's going to start some shit with somebody, and then I get involved, and then I'm going to save the day. That's what this mentality is with these people, these dog trainers that do protection work, that are usually, I'm just telling you, overweight. They're overweight, they're out of shape, and they feel helpless. They must have this fantasy in their head of like, oh, I'm going to save the day with my dog, or I'm going to save the day with a knife or my gun. It's absurd. It's absurd. You, the person that, I'm leaving, I'm going to the store, and you're taking a piece with you. Think about it. Do you think this over and over again in your head? Like, what am I going to do when something happens? I'm going to save the day. I think that's what a lot of people do. In hunting, there's this thing. This is true. That you're out in the woods, you're deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever, and you're thinking about what you're going to do if you see that, and people do this over and over again, and they're thinking about what they're going to do, and this is no shit. This is something that actually exists. And then somebody's walking through the woods, and they see the movement, and they instantly see the animal and shoot the human. So you play it over in your head, like, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden you do it, and you do it wrong. Why is somebody going for a walk? People love this dog trainer. They do. He's pretty popular. Why this dude that weighs 270 pounds is so afraid to go for a walk with his dog, and he has to take a weapon with him? What kind of paranoid thoughts do you all have? And why is it that these people that do protection work also recommend taking guns and knives and shit? It's fucking absurd. It's absurd. You don't need... I'm not saying that something can't happen. Something can happen. But I'll tell you one thing, being fat and out of shape, you know, that's not going to help either. So you're fat, you're out of shape. That was my father. My father, you know, he got out of shape, he got fat, he stopped boxing. You're fat, you're out of weight. That's another thing that I've noticed about, or overweight. That's another thing I've noticed about these dog trainers that do protection work. Many of them are overweight and fat. There's something going on in their head that they're so worried that they must train the dog to do. And I don't listen. There's a lot of people that do protection work, and I think anytime you're training your dog, that's good. That's a good thing. But there's something about these people that like you do protection work with the dog and you have a carry license. There's, you know, what's the matter with you all? Yeah, something can happen. But if something can happen, you ought to be able to protect yourself without using a weapon. You want to care. Don't listen to this guy. Don't take a knife with you everywhere you go. It's absurd. You're going for a walk with your dog and you're taking a knife. That just sounds psycho. It's psycho fucking crazy ass shit. It is. I knew this one trainer in Chicago. It was a chick. A lot of chicks like guns and they like to train the dog in protection. She's doing this video of her driving around with a 9mm showing off her gun. Makes her feel tough. It's just, listen, if somebody has a need to have a gun with them, they're not tough. Certainly they're not if they don't have the gun with them. So they're already in the state of like, I feel like I could be picked on. Now I have the equalizer with me. Now nobody's gonna pick on me, and they're walking around. They're just waiting for something to happen. They're waiting for something to happen. The guy that takes the knife with him to go on a dog walk, he's waiting. He's like the hunter in the woods. He's waiting. He's playing it over in his mind. Oh, I hope, you know, and then I'll show the bad guys. It's absurd. It's absurd. A carry license? People want to walk around with handguns and shit? Yeah, something can happen. It's true. Something can happen. Especially if you're fat and overweight and you have like zero training. Something can happen. Something that can happen to somebody that's in good shape. It's true. But to walk around like, I got to take a knife with me, what kind of nonsense is that? Brewster, here! Get over here, buddy! Good boy. My neighbor's dog came out. It's nuts. It's nuts. Don't start taking knives with you. You don't need a carry license. If you want to get a carry license, get a carry license. You people that do protection work with your dog, great. I'm glad you're working with your dog. I'm glad you're training your dog. It's a good sport. It's just sort of something that I noticed in the sport that a lot of these people, they have carry permits. They promote carrying weapons. They want their dog to be a weapon. It's paranoia. That's all it is. It's some kind of weird paranoia. They're so worried to walk down the street. Something happened, like my dad in the Blockbuster, but something happened to these people that they're so worried that something's going to happen that they have to take a weapon with them. So what do? They train the dog to be another weapon. You know, be prepared. You got to have a backup. What if the gun misfires? I have my dog. It's fucking crazy as shit. Hi, Remy. Remy's my favorite, aren't you, Ram?